Hey there, bluesers. Yeah, that was a bad joke, but I just thought of it. I didn't have much time to work on my material. We're going to talk about more Stevie Ray, Jimi Hendrix, John Mayer, bluesy stuff. So strap yourselves in, grab your guitar, and let's get stuck into it. Okay, something I wanted to address, which I think is very important. Typical thing we see with guitarists, not just blues guitarists, just any guitarists, is this grip. And this is an awesome grip, but if you've not learnt how to play technically correct in this sort of position, and I mean putting the thumb behind sort of the second finger roughly and playing through scales and whatever, it's a great, it's the best idea, I think, to play and get used to this way of playing and then adapt this playing. Or if you're gonna start on this and you already do it, that's great, but really try and practice the other way of putting the thumb behind, because this is great for certain things, but it will restrict you in many ways for other stuff. Anyway, so that's just a quick thing. Try and get used to the thumb behind the neck instead of over the top. And then when you get better at the other technique, you do whatever you want. You put the thumb over the top if needed. Just try not to be stuck in this position. That was a quick thing I wanted to get off my head. Next thing, I'm going to move on to what I call the fall off. I've spoken a little bit about it, but didn't talk much about the actual thing. So one thing when we do, like, you'll hear it, I think it sounds really cool to play if you've got your main little idea. And then you got this. So that's the main bit. Then after, you almost can't even hear it, but it's there, and it makes a difference. So what? A few ways I approach this. You've got the first idea, which is whatever it is, and then after we finish, we choke that note out, and we either hammer on without picking, because when you pick, unless you've got very good control of your pick, you might pick at the same attack. It's not that. We want to hit the first bit harder. You can pick, but make it really soft. So in that case, I'd be doing the first bit, whatever it is, and then pick, pull away, pick, pull away, but making it soft. So I'll do the other way. Yeah, sounds cool. So depending on what you're wanting to play, you can do the... You know, it's almost not there, but it's there, and that's what's important. It's the extra juice that we put into these things that makes it sound cool. So yeah, hammering on and finishing the rest of the lick really softly, and that to me sounds super cool. You can do it wherever you want. It doesn't have to be done all the time. Like all of these ideas, the more you do them in a solo, the more it's like, yeah, doing that thing again. So try and not abuse it. In the beginning, abuse it all the time. It's the best way to learn it, and then use it musically. The other thing with a similar concept, I guess, when I'm doing this thing here, I'm stopping this note with that finger instead of... It's almost like I want to finish... hang on, let me think of a lick. There we go, that's the one. See, I end here. It's almost like the end is there on the root note, but just before the end, I pull away, and then I release this finger. So I'm doing the pull away and choke the note, or not choke it, but just release this finger a bit, not too much, because I don't want to get a pull away to the open string. I just release the pressure on this finger so it stops the note, but nothing rings out. That's another little thing. Ooh. Anyway, So yeah, just releasing that first finger so it stops the note. It's another way of muting. So that's a cool thing that we can put at the end of licks as well. So the licks are important, but how we finish them is super important as well. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. So take that and do stuff with it. The other thing these dudes do, and any good musician will do, is make a motif. You can repeat the same sort of idea, you can come back to it, you can build on it, and maybe come back to it later on as well, or up higher up the octave if you're building your solo from something really chill and then just going mental. Up the top you can bring in this motif, and this is one of the things that makes your playing more memorable, and it appeals to more people because they've heard it before. It's like, you know, you can have a great song on the radio and everyone's like, oh, I love that song. You can have another song no one's heard, which is just as good, but they haven't heard it, so they're a bit scared. If you play a solo and it's just all over the place, nothing repeating, you may not have people singing that solo in their head when they're driving home. If you play the same thing regularly through the solo, or the same idea, the same motif is what I'm talking about, you might have someone singing your solo for the next few weeks and just they can't get it out of their head. That's what we want to do. So for instance, if you can attack it like play 2, 3, 4 notes. If I'm doing A, so I might go, oh, that was out. Wow. I'm going to start again. So what I'm going to do is that though. Ding, 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 ding. Whatever. I think you get what I'm talking about. I don't need to keep playing crappy blues for you. Oh dear. So yeah, try and repeat yourself. Come up with a cool little 2-note, 3-note, 4-note phrase, whatever. It can be more notes. You can play 1,000,000 notes, but you know, the idea that would be difficult to repeat. So hopefully that makes sense. And what's another thing? I got my list. I started making lists. Well done, me. Ah, yes. Super cool thing that I was watching this morning, watching a bit of Stevie. Whew, man, that dude can play. Funk. That's it. I just wrote the word funk. And that's what we're going to talk about. There's things that they all do. I think every blues player does it, because funk and blues are kind of like, ooh, they're pretty good together. So for instance, what was it? Something Stevie was doing. All right, so I can't remember what he was doing, but I'm going to make my own up. Screw you, Stevie. Playing the funky rhythm stuff in a solo can make a big difference and build energy, and it's just another cool technique. I'll do it in A. So it's almost like you've taken over the rhythm guitar part again, instead of just ripping out lead lines like this. You can kind of make the funkiness. So on an A, I'm just going to noodle, and you're going to get the idea. I'm not going to go into everything because I've talked about the muting and all that before, but I'm essentially playing around with the blues scale and Mixolydian. All right, so THT on the case. Yeah, so lots of this and noodling around. So I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of it, but just so you're aware, you know, you can fiddle around, try and get funky. A lot of this stuff. Little riffs, little ideas. Shut up. Little riffs and little ideas. Yeah, cool. That's going to be me done for this one as well, I believe. Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry. Lastly, for this one, listen to each note of the chord against the... listen to each note of the scale against the chords you're playing on. For instance, have a blues playing in the background and listen to what A sounds like on the A. See what the C sounds like on the A. All of these notes, so I'm basically going, here we go, so A. And then you do the same thing, A pentatonic or A blues, over the D chord. Then you do over the E chord. And you'll start to notice which notes work better with which chords, because you can rip up and down the blues until the end of time and it's fine, but you might be wondering, why does that note not work as well on the D? And it's because the D is now the new harmony, and the relationship to that note that you're playing and the D is not as good. So you you always find the 1, the 3, the 5 and the 7 are like your standard go-to happy good notes to land on. So if you're playing like, if I do this, all right, that sounds cool. Then if I do, that sounds all right because I've landed on the 5th of the D. But then if I do, landed on the 4th of the E, and the 4th is our suspended note, and it's a cool note, sounds fine, but when you finish a line on the 4th, it sounds like it's not finished. So you either have the chance to bend up, slide down, finish the lick, and then land on the more appropriate note. So that's just being aware of what each note sounds like on each chord. All right, I hope that was helpful in some way. Even if one little thing made sense and improves your playing, it was all worth it. And so have yourselves a great day, night, or I don't know what else there is. Have a good one. Cheers. See you next time.